So, hello and welcome to my channel. On this video, I am going to talk about a very important topic that I consider really important to discuss, and it's also practical, also part of just a way of being and strategy of life. So, the topic is the balance between structure and feminine flow. So, why I decided to talk about this topic and what's so special about it? I hope a lot of you will understand the importance of this topic for feminine energy and feminine personal transformation. A lot of us women, we sometimes come from masculine energy in our lives when we discover feminine energy. Um, a lot of women who have been successful in life in masculine ways, really good students, have really good jobs, then find that something is missing in their lives. And especially we notice this when we see feminine women in our lives or women that we know who have another way of doing things. Maybe they are not as successful or don't have that peak high performance like us, but they have another type of success. They do things the feminine way. So, discovering feminine energy, we often, at first, uh, we think that we have to abandon all of our previous masculine ways and all we knew before discovering feminine energy. And a lot of us do this, I can say, mistake or misconception, have this misconception, but in this video, I'm going to talk about how to find really a balance and be a complete human being with also not totally abandoning everything that you know and everything that you were before discovering feminine energy, but how to intentionally use also masculine energy in your life. So, first, I want to give a little background about myself and my way of being before discovering feminine energy. So, those structures, those masculine structures in my life that I had before. In fact, time management was something that I was really interested about. Was something that I really was good at. And in fact, it's a core part of my personality. I'm a Virgo as an astrological sign, and I don't know if it's a coincidence or how true astrology can be, but I really feel totally like a Virgo woman, and um, I have that strengths that Virgos have. They are organized and good in time management. So when we discover feminine energy, we often find it so delicious that we want to be all the time in our feminine energy, and sometimes we lose that structure what we once had. So things starts to not get done, and I saw this in my life. At some point, I had difficulty finding that balance. In fact, my life before used to be really structured. I used to rely a lot of on planning, and I talked about this in my previous videos, but I don't know. I found myself in a situation that I really started to think that if I get done everything, if I plan everything, and I'm always prepared for things, um, everything would be under control. And I used to be one of those people at some point in my life that would plan everything in her Google Calendar. I used that system to plan everything. Before that, I also used pen and paper agendas. Then I turned to Google Calendar. I, in fact, still love Google Calendar because you can set tasks to get repeated, for example, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and I love to work with systems. I could be a really good project manager. That would be my strength and my talent. But uh, I used to have so my life everything planned, even doctor's appointments, reminders on my Google Calendar, yearly things that I needed to do, for example, on a specific date, um, not forgetting everyone's birthdays, having everything on my Google Calendar and everything planned and everything related to my online businesses, my work too, because also I worked and I still do, and also had my online business. And I love, absolutely love to build systems that work. This is one of my strengths. But when I discovered feminine energy, I started to do just the things that I wanted to do and when I felt like doing them. And in fact, with all that structure, I had my days totally planned. I also started to plan my free time, my afternoons, my evenings, everything would have a structure. And at some point, I also used to fight with my fiance at the time a lot. And I felt like my nervous system was getting really tired of following um, routines, to-do lists. In fact, I um, didn't use so much to-do lists, but I would use time boxing. So set a specific time for everything on my Google Calendar and follow them most of the time. At first, I would rely on my routines to get away from reality. It was something that really, really worked for me. Um, in difficult parts of my life or when I was not feeling good, and especially, for example, one of those biggest examples, most important examples of this was when my mother died. I relied on routines and focused on my studies just to take away my mind from what had happened. And I think I didn't really process my emotions at that time, but I just focused on routines and things that I had to do. It worked for me at the time, But I got to a point I would do that even after that crisis, and when I would feel bad or just not listened from my fiance, I would just focus my mind, for example, on my business, cooking something, doing something, to just forget it. And in fact, it's not completely bad, I would say, because it makes you focus on a task, but there is a limit to that too, because when your emotions are burning from inside and you're focusing on a task, sometimes one little interruption or one little external one trigger make you explode, and sometimes this is the result of a tired nervous system. So I sometimes try to let go of my calendar and everything that I've planned, and just, for example, leave for a day and do whatever I felt like doing. And I would see that just by relaxing, my problems would not seem so hard, and the world would go on, and simply nothing would happen if I just retired for a day. So I came at a point that I thought that my Google Calendar and to-do lists were the problem. So I decided to completely delete my Google Calendar, where all my year was planned out, because I had tasks that I would repeat daily, some weekly, some monthly, so my system, and also the yearly tasks that were all the important things were all planned there. And I would feel before that if I didn't follow them, something bad would happen, something like I would get fired from my work if I didn't complete the things, or my online business would get stuck. So I completely deleted my Google Calendar at some point to follow my feminine flow. I used to have a system that I discovered before that which was inspired by the Pomodoro technique. If you know what it is, Pomodoro technique is just following, doing a task for about 25 minutes and followed by 5 minute breaks. And I used to have set pomodoros, so time boxing, uh, using 25 minutes of time to do things. And if you know the Pomodoro technique, you know that that is a way, a type of time boxing, and I would use that. That was part of my system. So this helped me a lot. I used to be a really good student. I had really good performance, especially when I finished my studies, because when I first entered university, I was not so good, but I mean, I learned through the years, and the last year of my master's degree, I really had really great results. I had mastered it, and um, really, university was um, a part of my life that I improved in my productivity, and I was really, really good at this. So it was reflected at my grades, and I had my life under control. I was really good student because of the structures that I had, specific times to study, how to do it, and specific ways to do things. And I also took this ability to my work too when I started working, just completing things and being really structured and really good at this. So when I want things done, I still follow my systems and my structures that I have learned over the years. And in fact, having masculine structures in our lives, in fact, helps us be more feminine, helps us have things under control. For example, if a thing is taken care of, it helps us feel more relaxed and really inspires our creativity. For example, if let's say, if I still was a student and I have planned that I will study at a specific hour, for example, the next day, I'm not going to worry today or outside that time about that specific thing. And the same is true for other areas of life. Like when, for example, you plan and set a specific hour to deal with something, there's no reason to think about it outside of that time frame, which allows us to be more feminine and in our flow in the other parts of the day. So it's really important to have structures for feminine energy. So there is no feminine without the masculine. This is really important. Feminine energy is the energy of flow, and the woman can be feminine only when she feels safe, when there is no stress or sense of energy, when she feels protected. So only being in our feminine all the time is not you can be for some times for a vacation, take slow down your life for some time, but having structure is important to keep, and especially if you have already developed a masculine side, there's no reason to forget all about it and simply be in your feminine suddenly. I also want to use an analogy. There is no river without the riverbed. So the riverbed is the that masculine structure, and the water of the river is the feminine. But without the riverbed, the water would be flowing everywhere. So this is really a good analogy. The same way we need masculine energy in our lives to feel feminine. That's why having structures in our life is important. In fact, my masculine energy is not one of a go-getter or like I need to win all the time, or really, I'm not really that competitive as a nature. And I sometimes don't like that spotlight all the time, but it's important for me to have that structure and that organization in my life. So we need masculine energy in our lives to feel feminine. That's why having structures in our life is important. We sometimes have them from ourselves and sometimes from the men in our lives. but it's important to have them. And in fact, I suggest developing them yourself, even when in a relationship, just having those structures. So, the last part, I think, this is the most important part of this video, is if you watch this video until now, that these are the tips that I will give on the practical ways to create structure in your life. So how to create that structure, and also that balance between the feminine and the masculine in your life, to just be a complete being. So at up to which level to plan and to have structure. So first, the first tip I want to give is to have lists of things that need to be done, like routines. For example, um, how would your perfect day or good day look like? For example, I wake up, I meditate, I journal, I exercise, and I do those things in a specific order. Um, I don't use any more time boxing, but I will meditate for how much I feel like doing it, or exercise in a day, uh, just at the point that I feel like doing it. And I don't always have those standards to do, for example, a specific amount of time, or uh, a specific set of exercise all the time. But more or less, I have an order of things which I do them. So this is important, that, for example, when you wake up, knowing what is your healthy routine that you need to do. And then you can also follow that flow and do each of the parts of your routine for how much you feel like doing them. So structure for me now is just the order of things, that I keep that order, and I try to not skip any of those parts. For example, not feeling like exercising one specific day, I will just start doing it. I will do it a little bit, even if it's not too much, and that's really good actually, because just doing something for a little bit is better than doing nothing. Or, for example, some days I will just say to myself, I will do just a little bit, then I get that energy, and then I can continue doing every set of exercise that I planned, and I do it a lot. So one of the structures is the order of things. And when I feel like I don't feel like doing, for example, something from my routine, I will do it just a little bit. And also the order of things also helps, because um, we are wired that way, and routines are uh, important for our brain. And sometimes, if you know the process of how routines are created, they need a trigger and specific routine, then the reward. And when you do routines in the same order, sometimes the trigger for one task is the uh, completion of the previous one. So we are wired to do things in a specific order. That's not something that's not something so difficult to do. So second, have a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly list. So I have lists of things that I do, specific healthy routines, for example, that I do daily. I have specific set of routines that I do weekly, and weekly can be, for example, just for example, having my hair done at the salon. I do that every week, having that blowout. So monthly can be, for example, getting my nails done, dyeing my hair, and just things like that, a list of things. They can also be things related to my online businesses or also my work. There are always in every um, business or type of work things that need to be done. For example, every week or every month, and also every year. Because when we know a business very well and we work uh, for years on it, we know that some things can be done yearly. Just for example, content audit or just something like that, some tasks that need to be done yearly. And your business can just go on in the day-to-day operations, but it comes a time that you need to perform those yearly tasks. So it's good to having lists. I also, for my tasks, I set reminders on my phone. I plan specific hours to start every activity, and I still use Google Calendar, but not planning everything on it. I set reminders on my phone to just go on with the other activity. This way, I don't rush myself to do things very fast, because before I would just be in that energy of having to do the thing in a specific time, and having really detailed plans and rushing myself. And in fact, when you get started with this, it's good to just create your routines slowly. For example, you can create just one at a time. Um, and for example, have planned only, let's say, one routine, and then you can just follow for the rest of your day, just follow your feminine flow. For example, you can get started by setting up some routines, just for example, meditating every day. Just meditate every day, and everything that you do after that, it is going to be unplanned. So have a lot of space, I mean to say, at first in your day, when you until you get used to it. Because on some days when our energy is high, we um, do things faster. Sometimes we do them slower. So just don't try to rush yourself. So I also set reminders on my phone to do the important things, to start them. Then I do them for how much I feel like doing them. And when I see that, for example, in one day I don't have a lot of time on, or I am just not doing things of time on time, I cancel appointments or things, or don't say yes to other commitments. So setting reminders on my phone for specific tasks is really important. Also, sometimes it's important to merge routines, to merge tasks together. For example, I drink green smoothies as part of my routine every day, and I do this while reading. So I have merged those two habits together, and just they just work like one now. Are not part of my to-do lists to be done in one after the other, which makes my things that I need to do a lot longer. So also merging things together is sometimes really helpful to follow and create healthy routines. One structure that I also have is that the first part of my day, I do all the daily tasks and routines. So in the morning, I meditate, journal, exercise, do the things that have to be done daily in my business. So I have routine for the first part of my day. Then the next parts are more, I have more variety to them. After I do my morning routine, which is always the same, I will do some task which can be done weekly next, and which is not so planned. So I have more variety, and also then I can do some task if I have time that has to be done monthly, and then more variety to it. So the first part of my day is more like routine. Then later, the later and later in the day, the less routine I have, and the more it is based on spontaneity. It's also important to introduce in your life new things often. Have that structure, for example, that every day you will add something new, just a new routine or a new way of meditating, just something new. And it's some some part of controlled change. For example, when I have to do something new, I usually plan to do it on the evening or afternoon hours, and all the day it's something that I expect to do, and I'm really passionate and motivated to do it later, and I think about it during the day. So also adding some controlled change in your life, controlled variety, it's important. uh, so this is the the way I structure my days, and I really think it's important to have that those routine tasks in the first part of the day, then slowly add more variety and more variety to your day. Also, it's important to set structures around finances. This is also an important thing. Time and finances are something that are both that need to have your attention, in the sense that they need structures. Being in my feminine flow, I often just spend a lot, sometimes in an uncontrolled way. Before, I also used to be really careful with finances and planning everything, every single penny. That was just part of me and my personality. And I was also good at managing them, trying to find ways to save, which is something that I naturally do. But when I found feminine energy, this also was something that got a little bit out of control. So also having structures now around finances is important. So I use a similar system to time management for finances too. I categorize my spendings on daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly spendings. So I have lists of things. For example, daily spendings are maybe things that are essential. And on some days, maybe if I have cooked at home and I do meal prepping, I cook once a week and I freeze the food, I already have everything that I need in my home to eat. But on some days, I just eat out or get takeout food and eat it home. So having that list of uh, things that I need to buy daily is helpful or weekly. So I don't get out of the way to buy something that is not planned for me. It's just spontaneous, you know, that irrational spending that we do, that irrational purchase that we spontaneously do sometimes and is totally useless. So I set a specific time. For example, is one thing in my to-do list to buy, for example, the groceries weekly and just things that need to be done weekly. So I just don't buy something irrational and which is not it's just not going to improve my life. I also have that monthly list of things that I need both, and as part of my monthly routine every month, I just go out and make all my purchases of things. Then there are those things that had to be bought yearly, or I simply put them on the yearly list. Those are things that I will use for a whole year. For example, sometimes getting uh, for example, buying some training program or think that I buy every year just for my knowledge on my business or online business. I need to buy some trainings every year. And those go into the list of yearly spendings. So also having structures around finances is really important. And number seven, because give you, I talked about six things till now. So number seven, which is also the last on this list, is to sometimes, uh, if you are especially in a crisis situation in your life, when you feel like you're just lost that connection with your true self and just feel like you are in a crisis and your structures that you had before don't work anymore and you just feel you have outgrown them. Sometimes a structure in your life can be following someone you admire. They can be your structure, especially so if you are in a crisis situation when you have lost connection with your true self. And I also Sometimes I used to be that person for my sometimes family members or friends. When I saw them in that situation, to just pull them out. You sometimes need that. Maybe it can be a therapist or just a life coach or someone you really admire and like to follow until you go out of that crisis. When you don't have that security and structure anymore in your life. We sometimes feel that way, and a lot of us have been in that situation when our structures uh, didn't work anymore, or even sometimes being in a new environment or new job or new situation, um, or just starting a new business, for example, you need mentorship. And sometimes getting the structure from someone else, if it's something that it's new for you or a new situation or something, uh, is really important. You need that pull from outside, from someone else. And of course, I also mentioned this before, but having that uh, controlled change, so introducing something new always in your life, can be a part of a structure. So having structures, but also combined with something new, and always trying something new in your life in every period and even every day. One structure that I have that I just thought now to share is a structure for my self development. I always, all the time, every day, every period of my time, I'm following a self development program. I just do them one after the other. I'm just really passionate about following self help. And one structure that I have created for myself is, of course, I journal and I keep notes of those programs, everything I learned about them, following them. I keep notes. But before starting a program, I just keep my use my journal. Let's say, for example, let's say this is my journal, and I open it. And before starting a program, I just or simply, for example, usually every 3 months, I open a new page. Let's say I'm starting a new program and I am in my journal. I just open the page, open the journal, and on one part I write done and to do, or just past and future. So here every day I write one, what I learned today, what I embodied or did. It can be a new way of meditation, a new uh, simple routine, a new form of exercise that I added to my exercise list, something that I realized and I learned, for example, how to manage my time and just things that I've learned, for example, for the program. And on the other page, I write things that I want to do, I want to learn. Usually, these are self developed programs that I learned from things that I will want to embody in the future. I got that as information that I need to do, but I still haven't embodied it. And I write one, two, three, the list. So this is the first uh, page when I start new self-development programs. So things that I have embodied and things that I will embody. And usually these are blank at first and will get filled, for example, during the month or 3 months, for example. Then after this page here, in the next page, are the notes from the self-development program. And usually these are the extended notes, and the things that I will need to embody are from those that self-development programs, for example, but are will be listed here. Sometimes things that will I will do in the future or will embody in the future uh, will also be done. So, for example, uh, this is the future, and after I do that, I write it as in the list done, embodied things. Sometimes I write in my journal in the first part of things that I have embodied my notes, because, for example, a self-development program is not the same. It's not going to work the same for everyone. We always feel like sometimes it's not all the information that we need. It's not in that self-development programs. For example, it is the information is really general, and I specify it according to myself what I really learned from it, and feel the information that one can learn during practicing that thing, that maybe it's not written in the theory or it's not considered important to be included in that self-development program. So this is also one of my structure, writing in my journal the things that I have every day. I do this. A simple, even a little development that I done that day, or thing that I have learned that day, and a new thing that I will learn to do the next day or in the future, let's say. So these are my tips of practical ways to create structure in your life. And to conclude this video, so how to find a balance between following your intuition, let's say, or feminine flow, we can say, and routines and structures. So, how to find the balance between intuition and routine? Because a lot of time when we are strict with routines, we often lose that connection with our higher self, I feel, with our intuition. Because when we follow, for example, routines and just do them in a rushed way, everything, we let's say forget what we see around. We don't notice things, don't notice synchronicities. uh, Maybe one disadvantage of routines and structures and being a planner and following a structure is that sometimes we miss opportunities. When unexpected opportunities show up in our lives, we sometimes miss them just because we are too focused on our plans. So there needs to be a balance between intuition and routine. One question that a lot of people ask, and that I used to have this question too when I discovered feminine energy, is how can I find the balance between building routines and following my soul or following my intuition? My answer to that is that my soul wants to follow a certain routine every day, wants to wake up, meditate, journal, exercise, and work on my business. So there is some some things that they have in common. Um, follow yes, follow a routine, follow a structure, a list of things that you need to do, but they need to resonate with your soul. If something doesn't resonate for your soul with your soul, you don't need to do it as part of your routine. So my soul wants to follow this routine and do these things every day, and maybe for the uh, rest of the day I don't need to have planned time, but I can have something unplanned, and my that will be what my soul wants to do. So that's all for this video on finding that balance between structure and feminine flow. So thank you for watching. Bye.